Welcome to the launch of show 5 of Totally Radical Mixtape Podcast. We are your aging VJs, Charlie and Paul. Okay, I'm going to request access to our time machine and beam you all to the 80s and 90s where we explore movies, music, TV, toys, food, and more that absorbed our lives. And enter. Ooh. This AOL dial-up is a bit slow. User Charlie, what is programmed for this show?
We're going to take a journey back into cinematic history to the 1982 groundbreaking film Tron, and then the video games that it spawned. Then we're going to go back to 1981 to revisit the birth of MTV and then its network counterpart Friday Night Videos over on NBC. But while you're watching the show, feel free to rock it on over to your like and subscribe button so you don't miss any future shows.
All right, however you are watching this, just know we have nested macros, added bits, and Charlie has done something with a logic probe. So check out what else we upload to our mainframe pages.
Also later in the show, we'll offer up our latest Ultimate Mixtape song editions with 5 more gems that you can check out on your music streamer. Plus, we'll talk about our featured beer of the week. But now, without further ado, let's put on our spaceman suits, let's hop on our light cycles, and let's get ready to take out that master control program. It's showtime.
Let's go! Son of a bitch.
I'm John McClane.
And I've drunk more beer and pissed more blood, banged more quiff than all you numbnuts put together.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
Name's MacGyver.
Now that the day is over.
Hey, you want to see Craig?
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Who was in our fancy intro video there that could take out that master control program in just one kick?
Ooh. Oh, you said I don't. Nah.
Chuck Norris.
Oh,
Chuck Norris. I mean, he owns the internet. Even before the internet, he was still messing it up.
He's gone through the entire internet. He's done everything. He's amazing.
That's right.
What's amazing though is Tron.
Yes.
I knew this was going to come up. I mean, I actually own the double DVD special. So this was fun. I knew we were going to eventually do this, and I'm surprised we didn't tie this into the arcade episode. And if you haven't seen that one, folks, go back and watch it. But yeah, tell me what you think about Tron.
Well, it's interesting. I as I initially pulled the movie up, the very first scene starts at Flynn's Arcade, which again on our arcade episode we kind of talked about the ambiance of the modern arcade in 1982, which was a lot of sort of the classic games, the Defenders, the Pac-Mans of its time, Frogger, all those great ones from the early 80s. But it was nice to kind of see that, and then nice to see Jeff Bridges there in that initial scene as he was right? One of the main characters. And again, I've seen Big Lebowski so many times just to hear his voice inflections tied to that. It just blows my mind. It's like, man,
that's what I got too. Yeah. That's what I wrote down initially when I heard. I'm like, oh my god, it's Big Lebowski. Yeah, man.
It does my heart good. It really does. He was in the sequel too in 2010. I think he was only one of 2 original cast members that made the sequel. But
wasn't he like computer generated or something?
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
but yeah, just and so I'll be honest. It kind of took me back. I did actually see this movie in the movies. I remember my dad and I actually went to see this, and I remember even as an 11-year-old wanting to like it more. I was like, wow, the graphics are just amazing. And that was the thing why it was a groundbreaking film at the time. This was the introduction of CGI. So and it just the visual effects were just like nothing that was seen at that time. And interestingly enough, there was a lot of blowback within the movie community from animators, them kind of thinking at the time, this is 1982, that well, this CGI is going to take all of our work away. Back when they're actually doing old
Oh,
sketch out animations and stuff. I mean, it was really very telling how threatened everybody was at that time. And actually, interestingly enough, on the banner there, the film was actually disqualified from getting an Academy
oh,
Award nomination for special effects
that's
because
right.
they said they were cheating because they were using CGI. It's like,
Yeah.
and so I mean, from that standpoint, again, I always think back on how visually blown away I was with the movie. But I again, even as a preteen, I was a little not as impressed with the structure of the movie itself.
Yeah, I no, I don't remember when I actually saw it. I definitely didn't see it in the movies. Unfortunately, my dad's not around to hear this, but we we probably didn't have the money or the interest, which is funny because my dad was all about gadgets and technology, so I'm
Mhm.
sure he would have enjoyed taking me to this. But uh, the the grasp of the tech and the visual effects was incredibly groundbreaking. What I wrote down was the light use, even the helicopter coming in to land on the NCOM headquarters building.
Yeah.
Had the light around the rotating blades, and
Oh, it was
I said,
fancy.
"This is
It was.
yeah, it was really fancy." And the well, it would be now like almost like a Google satellite, zoom in from space through the stratosphere, atmosphere, down to the clouds, through the and down to the city, and boom, and pinpoint your location. They did that through computer animation as well, and I was quite impressed. Uh, uh, the the premise of this, though, was you had characters that were well, this is what I I still I mean, even I did the deep dive, I still don't know exactly what the company actually did, because you have somebody who's controlling this master program, then
Mhm.
there's a couple users who are creating these programs, and I'm trying to figure out for what purpose are they. Well, ultimately, the master control wants to take over the Kremlin and the Pentagon, so there was obviously that part of it. But beyond that, all of a sudden you have a user heading down into the basement to hang out with the science division who are creating a laser to materialize and unmaterialize an orange at the time. And
Yeah.
I'm just going, so what kind of company is this?
Well, I think back on it. So, Flynn's axe to grind essentially was that
Yeah,
Space Paranoids, which was the game that he designed. I guess the boss like stole the rights to that from him or something
yeah,
along those lines. That's the game he's supposed to be playing at the beginning of the movie, but ultimately the fly in the ointment is he wants to prove that he wrote the game initially,
yes.
so that's why he wants to hack in, and then ultimately the master control program recognizes that he's trying to get in and then sucks him into the gaming grid, I guess. um,
Well,
you
and
know
it's it's very based on what was happening at that time. We had this in the arcade episode or show that 1982, 83 was like the golden age of video games. And
yeah.
I mean, it was a huge hit. So everything was happening was at that time probably seen as a golden egg.
Oh yeah, but it's interesting though. Again, now watching it 43 years after its release, you're saying, well, that master control program is essentially what AI does. It basically just keeps acquiring information and makes itself smarter. I mean, that it speaks about that during the movie.
Yeah,
Like, well,
yeah.
I
I'm
went through the Pentagon.
2,700 times smarter than what you yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you have that, and even the identity disc. That's what the programs carry around in the movie.
Which
The
hold on a
identity.
second, Charlie. That's a frisbee.
That's what
honestly.
it is. It is a for real frisbee, but
It's a
in
frisbee.
this case, in our imagination, but
Yeah.
but it's like a browser history. It's like
Yeah.
everything about that particular program is on that identity disk, So it's just kind of, again, they're not thinking that far forward
Hold on a
43
second.
years ago, or are they?
Delete all cookies.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
okay. So overall impression, you said this before the show as we were getting ready. What was your overall impression of the movie?
Well, you know how Bachelor Party was 15 minutes too long, where that,
Yes.
that fell on its face. I feel like this movie actually needed an additional 15 minutes to kind of wrap up some of the plots.
Hmm.
At the end of the movie, Dillinger, who was the bad guy boss, who gets, proved wrong that, he didn't write that program. I would have
Yeah.
liked to have seen some stuff happening to him. Like
Yeah.
maybe
What happened to
he
him?
gets pulled into the gaming grid, and maybe Sark gets to have his revenge, against him. Sark was the bad guy from the gaming
Right.
grid, just for FYI sake. But again, the plot was very basic. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's you got the programs. Jeff Bridges was the user, so he's like a god to these programs because that's where they came from. But it just seemed to me like the plot line was a little too simplistic. I mean, the effects, if it wasn't for the graphics, it probably would have been like a 3 out of 10.
Oh.
But it did
Well,
make
what was it? What was it?
6.7 on IMDb, which that
Ooh,
pretty much is what I would give it, a good solid D plus. I would say, from a
yeah.
overall construction of the movie aspect of it.
I yeah, it was a $17 million budget, which we'll get into about regarding the production cost and how much insane amount of work was done just to do the animation. But it did make 50 million, I'm assuming, in the box office, close to that. So um and a couple of small little tidbits was I I started watching it and going, oh my god, the acting is horrible. It's
It was
really
rough.
bad.
It was rough.
I just, in the beginning, this is what I wrote down. I loved how Jeff Bridges, he's playing his video game in his own arcade, and people are like, "Oh, he's so amazing!" He's like, "He's gonna go for the high score," and then he comes upstairs and he meets Alan and Lori, and we'll get to them in a minute. He goes upstairs into his bachelor pad, which was funny, and then removes his shirt and puts on a different, like, removes his blue shirt that says Flynn's, puts on his black shirt that says Flynn's, whatever that was all about. And I
Yeah.
thought that was hilarious. And then he actually starts playing a handheld.
Coleco
Yeah,
electronic
Coleco.
quarterback. Yeah,
Yeah,
I still I have a working model of that downstairs.
I love that. Yeah, I love that game. So, and yeah, I said the same thing. Immediately I went, Big Lebowski. Yes. But so throw this out there right off the bat. Tron. Electronics. So that was where the name came from, was electronics. And I believe the producer mentioned, or the director said, it was a kind of an Alice in Wonderland. You go down into the rabbit hole and you go into another world. That was the premise of Tron. You go down into the electronic world, and now you're in the grid world. So really neat stuff there.
Yeah, you could, but it's, again, going back to the movie itself. You could really, well, the banner that I put up a couple seconds ago, about the actual game making more than the movie itself. The game, well, actually, we'll get to the game a little bit in a second. But the video game
Oh,
version
sorry.
of the
Yeah,
that's
there
okay.
you go.
The video game version sold 10,000 cabinets and it made $45 million by 1983. I mean, that was just unheard of for the video game industry back in those days. But again, it outgrossed Tron, what they did at the movies, and ultimately what Tron did in the home video market as well. I'm sorry, home video game market was just astronomical at the time.
Well, it was built for a video game. I mean, it makes absolute sense. Matter of fact, I believe the first game they play, and I want you to add on to this, Charlie, is the first game they play was a version of High Lie, which is very popular in like Florida and Miami. And I do remember, well, we both own these home cabinets, video cabinets, and the arcade, well, the version of the one for Tron is apparently sought after. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
It's gorgeous.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
it just has gorgeous lines, and it sort of mirrors what you see right there on the screen, which is that amazing technology that they used at the time to provide a backlit neon look to everyone's uniform.
Well, also the you look at, let me take the
there's
banner
the
down here.
cabinet there.
So
Yeah,
here's the cabinet. So you see the joystick there.
joystick.
Again, space age kind of thing where you're using your little directional thing there. You got lots of lights around you. There were sit down versions of Tron back in the day, so to kind of give you sort of that stereo effect. And it was, but so the actual game itself, there were 4 components to it. So we think about, you had the light cycles, which were featured in the movie.
Right.
You had the tanks. I mean, tanks were in there from the very beginning, but you have the tank component to the Tron game. The third component is trying to get to the input output tower. From the movie, that's where he's trying to communicate with his user, with his identity disk. But you're trying, but you got to get by all the little grid spiders. So they're
Right.
not really
Oh, yes.
talked about in the movie, but you got to shoot the little grid spiders.
That's
And then
right.
you also have to try to get into the cone. So you're shooting the cone, the cone's rotating around, and that's supposed to be when you're trying to take out the
master. Yeah.
Yep. So it's
The
just
face.
rotating around. So that's the 4 components to the main game. But then there was a 5th game called Discs of Tron.
Yes.
So that was, so interestingly enough, I only ever saw that game at Ocean City. We talked about during the arcade episode that Ocean City was like the mecca for video games, the boardwalk down in Maryland. But I remember seeing that game there, and I played Discs of Tron, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool, but it's only one part. It kind of gets old after a while. And over the weekend, I played Discs of Tron, and I kind of went through the same thing. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I got to like the 3 disc area where it's kind of challenging. I mean, it's really kind of fun to play, but then you're like, all right, well, I can't seem to get past this part, and there isn't any other component to the game. So go figure. It's an arcade game that should have been a part of that original game, but the programmers couldn't get it done in time. So that's how it actually became a separate entity, and it was far less popular than the original because there just wasn't much to it. But again, tying it back to the plot of the movie, I would still go back and say this movie was just a promotional campaign for the video game, and maybe not so much an exercise in cohesive screenwriting. But that's just one guy's opinion.
Well, okay, so let's go over the cast. Okay. So you have obviously Jeff Bridges, who we don't even have to go into what he's gone on to.
Yeah.
He was Flynn, and when he moved into the grid, he was still Flynn, or I know he played Clue.
Yeah, he was still Flynn. You had Tron, you had Ram.
So Tron is actually not Jeff Bridges. Tron is Bruce Boxleitner,
Right.
And he moved on to things like just Babylon 5. To be honest with you, he reminded me of a very 80s TV show type of personality. But he moved on to Babylon 5. It's probably besides Tron, his high mark in his career.
Yeah.
Then we had Cindy Morgan, which was Lori, which was Alan. Well, there was a bit of a romantic connection here, which I don't know why if they needed to throw that in there, but Lynn was interested in Lori, was dating them, and now it wasn't, and then Alan was dating her, and then they were together. But the funny thing about it is later in the movie, she kissed them both within a matter of 5 minutes. What? Yeah. So whatever. And her name became Yori when she was in the grid. But check it out. If you watch, and we're going to definitely have this. I think this movie was in the 80s. Caddyshack.
1980, right on the nose. So yes, it does
Ooh.
fit.
She was the hot blonde girl in Caddyshack.
Yes.
Oh, I was
Well,
like, oh
yes.
my gosh. Yeah,
So, well, actually,
she was
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But all right, so moving on from there is David Warner, which was Sark or Dillinger in the real world. And he's been in, because once again, where have I seen that person? Time Bandits, which I
Yep.
absolutely loved. Titanic, he was I think he was like the security officer or a police officer that was guarding them people. And then he was also in Omen and Waxwork. So he's,
Nice.
I think particularly plays bad people in general. So
Yes.
good for him. But I think my best aha moment was Dan Shor, who played Ram and died in the movie, unfortunately. But
Yep.
he was Billy the Kid from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I did not put 2 and 2 together, but yes, that does make sense. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
There you go.
Fantastic. Yeah, poor Ram. He didn't quite make it. They needed to get more Ram to make it all work.
You need to have somebody die. Come on now. Well,
Right.
actually, yeah. I think he's the one that died.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So I threw in a lot of notes about how much tech talk, and we mentioned in the beginning of the show, nested macros and logic probe and bit and user control. It just it became like just over the top after a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, all right. Especially nowadays, which it seems just normal verbiage to use when you're talking about computers, but back then it's just ridiculous. And you mentioned how groundbreaking it is. We can even get into how the backlit animation. It was just insane. I read some things. I couldn't even regurgitate the stuff that I read back to you because it just still seems high tech to me today.
Well, I think the computer that they generated the graphics on was something like 2 megabytes or something like that, which I mean, in computer terms, is like an iota. It's just there wasn't much bandwidth really. But again, the graphics, like the light cycles, like you see in the picture here. I mean, just the concept of that. I mean, that's a fun game to play. Actually, I can do
Yes.
okay with the 3 light cycles on the actual video game, but remember the big God, what were they called? The recognizers. That was the big things that were shaped like horseshoes that were chasing around. They
like
could do all the
tower
little flippy things.
Yep.
So they were pretty wild. But yeah, it was just a true promotional campaign. Again, Disney bought the franchise later on. I don't think they were a part of the initial launch, if I remember that correctly. But that was something they pulled in, and now they've got a new Tron Ares movie, I guess, coming out next month.
That's right. Another reason why we decided to pick this as a feature for this show. Yeah, it's and the original director, producer, creator of it is doing the same one again. He never moved on to anything else after this. I mean, he's done stuff, but his high mark again was Tron, and luckily they said, "Hey, you own this, buddy. What do you got?" He did the sequel, and then he's doing the one that you just mentioned, Tron Ares.
Yeah.
Do you want to briefly mention the banner?
Oh yeah. So they had their outfits. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, you can see they're pretty darn skin tight. And Jeff Bridges had an issue with too much of a bulge in the codpiece area of his computer outfit, so they had to have him wear a dance belt to kind of suppress his manhood, I guess would be the right.
I'm glad you didn't show that photo. And
right,
there was
that one.
Yeah, there was not a lot of concealment when they actually went into the grid uniforms, if you will. Speaking of uniforms, I'm wearing this kind of business thing because I cracked up at how in the movie, very much like what you heard about in today. Well, we talked about it with Atari, and now you hear about it in like Google and Facebook, where it's a chill environment. They get to wear what they want as long as they get the jobs done. Well, Incom seem to have that kind of same chill, relax. A lot of jeans, but
Yep.
you got to put on the business jacket over top a polo or something. I thought that was hilarious. And did you notice that one shot? It was in a lab, which apparently that was in an actual building that is very tight security, but they superimposed a background of like 9,000 cubicles. Did you see that one
Yes, I
scene?
did remember that. I was like, oh my God, it's just endless.
I thought that was hilarious. And I thought what was funny when they actually broke into Incom, is there a reason why they needed to go through the most gigantic door in the world? They couldn't have gone through like just a normal back door.
Right, we're gonna find the big safe-like door. That's it's some questionable stuff. Well, well, it's funny. Even when they escaped the light cycle grid on
Mm.
Sark's TV screen, there was a quick flash of Pac-Man on there. It's like, man, you just couldn't get away from Pac-Man back in those days.
No, no.
But
I absolutely did love the light cycle portion of it.
oh, it's
And
fantastic, fantastic.
the color situation was odd because I think they went with a yellow is good and blue is bad, and then they switched to blue is good, red is bad. But then all of a sudden, I'm writing down, okay, now they're on the light cycles, and I see Flynn is in yellow, and I think Ram was in red. I'm going, well, that's bad. And then the people that were trying to kill them were in blue. What's good? I don't even. I'm trying to figure out who's who. And
Yeah,
yeah.
there was some insistence. Well, I remember, I think even Flynn, when he a character died by him, he like turned
Yeah.
red for a second. So yeah, it's just very
Absorbed it.
confusing. The consulting could have been a little bit better on, or at least just the continuity aspect of the movie could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, I cracked up when I think it was blue leader. I mean, there's only 3 light cycles on each team.
Right.
Blue leader to blue leader 1, blue leader 2, blue leader. Well, come on, you're the blue
Right.
leader. There's only 2 other people with you. I could just say, hey, blue leader, this is blue leader. Let's go. Not blue leader 1. This is blue leader 2. Not this blue leader 3. It reminds me of the the Family Guy Blue Harvest. Red 1 checking in. You know,
Right.
red buttons checking in. I did notice
Remember-
a bit of a Transformers. Did you see it? Like you mentioned the
the
horseshoe guys again.
recognizers. Yeah,
There was a transforming thing. I was like, okay, well, Transformers action.
What about the talking ball? Remember that? He was like,
Bit.
hey, do you think I should
Well,
do this? Yes, yes, yes. No, 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 no. Yes, yes, yes. That kind of thing. So
I,
it's sort
I
of,
s- yeah, good.
it was at the very beginning of the movie, and I think later on, but it just, again, it reminded me of sort of just simple binary language back in the
Yep.
old days when it was 0 or 1. It's either yes or no, yes or no. But that's how the ball was thinking. But
Yeah, they said that the synthesizer voice for that was made especially through like a Volvox or something, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's so funny to read that now. You go, yeah, I can probably do that on a microphone and a synthesizer nowadays.
probably in the 90s, we probably had toys like that at that
Oh,
point.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just crazy.
Well,
But
I wrote down that one of the computers that they used had 2 megabytes of memory and 330 megabytes of storage. Which
that was it. That was it.
we're doing more right now on this, and we're doing a very bad job of it, but we're doing more right
Yeah.
now than the Tron has ever done on the screen.
Yeah, it was. But again, it's to their credit. I mean, they made a sequel in 2010. You know, and the soundtrack to that was fantastic.
Oh,
The soundtrack to this original was mostly symphony. You know, if you look at the score and the soundtrack, it's mostly symphony music. 2010, Daft Punk, who their techno legends were a part of that. You know, they had the whole helmet thing going on, and they really kind of got all wound
Yeah.
into the theme of the
that's
movie.
right.
And I'm a fan of that band, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, but again, I looking back on it, I can see why I haven't sat down and watched it for a while. But you know, at least we have the games to carry it on in perpetuity, I would say, as far as the memory. But as far as me sitting down and watching this movie anytime soon, I think I'd probably rather go grab a fresh beer and maybe change the channel. But speaking of that, you drink,
Okay.
are you drinking beer tonight, Paul?
Well, yeah, and I'll get that in a second. I finished one, by the way, and I'm just gonna throw a little extra because I know we're gonna probably film, you know, we're probably gonna record again, but it is technically Oktoberfest. So
Out there.
I want to say Prost to all you Oktoberfest fans out there. And so I just had an Oktoberfest lager. Beautiful. All right. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's try to introduce them.
I want a beer.
Beer. Beer.
Wait, we should get some road beers, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should get some road beers. No alcohol? This place sucks.
I can't take this much longer. I gotta have a beer. Brilliant.
All right. The show moves so fast. The show moves so fast. I wanted to throw this out there because we're going to use this eventually. Oh, well, we'll get into that. All right. I am going to be drinking a Tannery Bend Beer Works.
Okay.
Sunrise Blonde. All right.
Very nice.
It is a 4.7% ABV, which is probably far below Charlie standards. Anyway, Tannery Bend Beer Works Blonde Ale, a citrus biscuit sweet. Here's what it looks like. Very beautiful.
Very nice.
And it's a classic golden ale, and it is made out of Napa, California, which is right down the road from me. And you'll see my face if I like it or not. What are you drinking?
That's right. Well, I've got a local brew here. This is from Huddle Brewing, which is down in the Arts District here in Vegas. This is a pineapple American wheat called the High Hatter. So this one here, it's a 5.5 ABV. So like a Diet Coke by my standards.
I know.
But 14 IBUs, so no bitterness at all, but a very refreshing beer, I would have to say. And just a shout out to Huddle. They make a few good beers. They have a vanilla cream ale, which is pretty excellent that they can and have and distribute here locally. But they do have a great spot down in the Arts District in Vegas. They're right next to this awesome barbecue spot called Soul Belly, which, oh my God, you're talking about a combination of forces right there. But this beer is pretty fantastic. It's reasonably priced. It's in the big tall cans, but you can get it at like Total Wine for like a 4-pack for $15-$16.99. So it's not anything outlandish. But there's a lot of good pineapple beers out there, but this is definitely close to the top of the heap for me.
You know, I brewed a pineapple beer once, and initially it tasted so good. You have to pull it off the pineapple after a while. You can't just let it sit on the pineapple, which I did, and so it's interesting. Yeah, it's really good. And now, are they using real pineapple? Probably not for that large of a volume. So pineapple puree and things like that. So yeah, absolutely. Those things are excellent in the summertime, which is pretty much all the time, right, in Las Vegas.
Yeah, about 9 months out of the year. But hey, we're in the 80s now, so it's coming down to a reasonable level. But again, excellent beer, and again, love me a good pineapple one. Doesn't always have to be an imperial stout, but wouldn't be the worst thing if it wasn't.
I think I can hang with you if you drink that stuff.
Yeah, we can probably pace it out a little bit better. But all right, I think so. What do we got coming up next?
I want my MTV.
Who doesn't? All right, so it's funny. I always I do value the research that we put into the show in terms of we call it the deep dive or the rabbit hole that we get in beforehand, so we kind of rekindle the memories. And I tell you, YouTube is such a wonderful source to be able to go find the original 2 hours, the first 2 hours of MTV that occurred back in August 1st of 1981.
Oh, yeah.
I got a chance. It's interesting. You get to see obviously the commercials of the time as well. But
yes,
as they launched the show, it basically had the rocket launching from the launching pad. The everything falling aside, and they made the announcement, "Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll." So they brought that in, and then the very first song that was played on MTV was "Video Killed the Radio Star" by the
Yeah,
Buggles.
that's right.
Again, and it's interesting again as we go into the deep dive how there was some animated discussion about what was going to lead off. I mean, again, this was a groundbreaking moment in musical history at that time. But what's kind of interesting though is as I watched the broadcast, they showed that Buggles video, and then there was sort of like a commercial that sort of framed up like what a music video is. It's like,
Ooh.
oh, you've now you've had the gift of sound for all these years. Now you have the gift of sight. And it's like,
Sight, yeah. Oh,
really?
and did you notice that they also said you now have a freedom of choice?
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, that would have been perfect for the Devo entry.
It would have
So
been.
yeah,
And
so hold on a
there's
second.
Go ahead.
Video killed the hold on, here we go.
Yeah.
I heard you on the wireless back in 52.
Yeah, it's really it was a perfect, granted, it was made years before that though,
Yes.
or at least a year or two before the actual, it wasn't fresh.
Right. They had their crystal balls out back in those days, so they knew it was coming.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, as you venture through those initial 2 hours, it was "You Better Run" from Pat Benatar. It was
Well,
the
hold on,
second one.
hold on a second.
Good.
You're getting ahead of me now.
Uh-oh.
That's Pat Benatar's "You Better Run," which I don't think I've ever heard before, but it was such a simple video.
It was
But
a heyday.
But remember we talked about this at that time of Ferris Bueller, I think it was. Why do we see so many people dressed as Pat Benatar, not Madonna? Because Pat Benatar was out. I mean, she was the thing for girls to dress like in 80, well,
Fast
81.
Times.
Yeah.
Fast Times.
Oh, Fast Times.
was
All
the-
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
because that was 81. And then Rod Stewart was the third one featured on that initial.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's
initial
see this
blast.
She Won't Dance With Me, which I've never heard of. My mom loved Rod Stewart, by the way, and that song I've never heard before. But he, again, the videos are, that's what you need to do, folks. I think that's what Charlie's getting at. You've got to check out some of these videos. They're hilarious.
Totally worth checking out. And
he had his whole shirt open and
oh my God. Yes. And I think like the scenery, it probably cost him like maybe $500. It was like
Nothing.
holes in the wall and things like that. So real quick, a quick little metal connection. Little Susie's on the Up, which was the fifth song on there by PhD. That later was a Tesla hit. I never knew that was a cover song until I watched it a bit earlier. So that's pretty interesting there.
by the way, I could not find that song.
Again, Tesla made a far better version because I was like, oh my God, this is not what I was hoping for. And then Cliff Richard, Prick's favorite band from the Young Ones.
Yes, here we go. And as soon as I played this, I'm like, I've heard this before. This is Cliff Richard. This was pretty popular back in the day.
Yeah, that's
You
why
don't talk anymore.
Prick was a big fan.
It was good.
But then the Pretenders, Brass and Pocket. Were you much of a Pretenders fan?
I love Brass and Pocket. Hearing Chrissy's voice, you kind of go, why was she such a big hit? She's just so unique. Here. She was such a unique voice. So
that video, it was interesting. Again, a low budget type thing, but she's a waitress in a diner, so she goes over to the table. She's kind of like hitting on the three guys that are there. They're giving her a little bit, she's giving out a little bit, so then she continues to sing her song while she's putting the order in. And then while she's doing that, their girlfriends come in, and then they're all put off when the waitress comes back, and she's like, you guys wanted a piece of my action until your girlfriend showed up." So it's just, again, the low budget, good story videos of yesteryear. Well,
Which,
somewhat good stories.
yeah, and I might be going ahead here, Charlie, and I'm sorry, but I think ultimately what MTV's history shows is Michael Jackson's Thriller as being the epicenter, or the epic, or whatever, crescendo, or whatever you want to call it,
Sure.
of being the ultimate way of producing a video. But before that, like you said during the Devo show, these well, you mentioned a number. How many videos did they actually have to mess around with?
They had a whopping 250 videos in their library when they kicked off the network. Half of them were shown on that first day. A few were shown multiple times, like In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and I think there were a handful of others that they fell in love with on the first day. But yeah, they only had 250 to start with, so it's kind of interesting, the opportunity that was out there for bands that had already had videos on the books.
Well, we'll share this on our social pages. The first 50 songs and the artists. I would happy to argue, I believe Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight it's probably the most successful, recognized song out of all the 50 that went that far. Yeah. Okay.
But I would say, well, Risky Business kind of propped that one up as well. But,
Okay.
when Tom Cruise is taking care of business on the train with In the Air Tonight in the background, I'm sure that kind of escalated that. But yeah,
you know what's funny, Charlie? I thought you were going to say Mr. Briefcase by Lee Retnor, which is I'm sorry, but there is still a sense, because I mean, you just said it, ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll. How the hell is Mr. Briefcase rock and roll? There's a couple of songs on this list that sound still very 70s disco.
I wrote down in my notes, who the hell is Rittenauer?
Yeah, Lee Rittenauer. Yeah,
who is
but
this guy? Why did he show up twice?
But yeah, I mean, they had everyone should know this by now, especially if you're from the grew up in the 80s. Yeah, so that, and then there's a couple of ones that it's just funny how I have no idea who these people are, and we're gonna get to yours. We'll get to your song that you really want to in your picks. So stay tuned, folks. But yeah,
what year did
you mentioned
come over
Rod.
here?
80.
80. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I know where this is probably be a wonderful transition, but I'm not even going to mention it. Sorry. I'm not going to mention it. I was going to mention how I didn't have MTV at the time.
Well, that's the thing, because when this first launched, this never would have been able to be possible had they not had cable TV, because that, up until then, to the younger folk out there, it was just 3 main channels, probably a PBS channel and maybe one other one, and that was it. So this sort of helped launch cable TV into the mainstream, although it wasn't mainstream to begin with. When MTV first launched, there was a small select group of people in New Jersey that got to see that. Outside of that, nobody else had it. And again, as like growing up in Maryland and Pasadena, we didn't get cable until like 1984.
Yes.
So we had no idea. I would just hear through the grapevine about videos, and there was another outlet that we'll talk about in a minute or two. But again, what were you saying about Rod Stewart, though?
Well, yeah, because I want to talk about the banner, or not the banner, but the photo here. You mentioned how Rod Stewart was. I did this. I went down the 50, initial 50. Obviously, yeah. Come on, who has time these days? I ain't got time for that. To be able to look at to the top 100, but the first 50, there was a tie between REO Speedwagon and Rod Stewart. They both had 4 played in the first 50 videos played. Again, how established were you, and how quickly were you able to latch onto a video producer and create a video, to the point where if you're Rod Stewart or Pat Benatar, you get your band together, you get a backdrop, and you basically lip sync it and you go for it, and boom, you've got it. And that's a video. It's the ones that went above and beyond that. I think that should have gotten more credit, and they do eventually. It's just, it's almost a, hey, you've got time to kill and you want a good laugh, go back and watch some of these videos, because they're even Cliff Richard's one. All right, guys, I'm going to stand on this dark stage with absolutely no backdrop and a spotlight, and I'm going to basically sing him back and forth. It's just that hokey of a marketing plan that honestly, either you latched onto that bullet train that launched massive amounts of talent. You know, if you didn't know Culture Club, if you didn't know Kajagoogoo, if you didn't know Duran Duran, they absolutely said, you know what, this is a way to connect with fans across the world, and boom. Because today it's kind of strange too, right? I mean, I know there's social media, so you can go and find out who these people look like. I mean, you have the voice that they turn around and you just hear the voice, you don't see the person, which is really nice. And that you're not, oh, this person is going to be great. And you turn around, oh, they're Susan Boyle, for instance, just old and ugly or something. But back then you didn't know. You went got the records, and you might not even have the Black Album by Metallica. You had no clue who these people look like. But once the video came out, girls were going, holy crap, Duran Duran's hot. Or whatever, Pat Benatar, she's hot, I want to dress like her. That was how they launched into stardom.
It definitely changed the game. And again, those original the original VJs, Mark Goodman, Alan Hunter, Martha Quinn, Nina Blackwood, and JJ Jackson, when they were hired, they were told by MTV, okay, keep your day jobs and don't get permanent residences, because we're not really sure if this is going to work yet. That was kind of an interesting, and they all said, we all heard the same thing as far as that. But really, they were really instrumental. The personalities out there. Remember, even Kurt Loder from MTV News, came in a little bit later on. But just all those recognizable personalities, and then they started outcropping some shows from there. I remember like the MTV basement tapes. That was sort of a lesser known. If you don't have a record contract, put a video together, get it in here. And there was quite a few that got launched from there. Their video countdowns, guest VJs. I mean, it really just became sort of an institution, probably by like the mid 80s, when people started getting cable a little more consistent.
I mean, and then the picture right there shows, I mean, they went beyond that. Obviously, we're talking about the initial entry of MTV, but Headbangers Ball, MTV Raps, MTV News, the countdown. They were all amazing milestones of the growth of MTV. Obviously, it's a completely different entity now. They even, which I didn't know, I thought VH1 was a separate competing entity. I guess it was, but now MTV literally owns VH1, and VH1 was more of an adult contemporary, which you knew if you watched it after, well, this is not that cool, especially if you're younger. So older people would gravitate more towards VH1. But they had some amazing stuff like behind the music pop-up videos, which I thought was really neat, which is almost like a Casey Kasem type of thing, where you listen to Casey Kasem and he just starts spouting off insane trivia. You go, what? And you're listening, what? I had no clue about that. That's amazing.
Like even MTV Unplugged came like late in the 80s, early 90s, just again, all these different groundbreaking shows that were fantastic. But So
you mentioned that there's a bunch of glitches and stuff as you watch the first 2 hours.
Yeah, they had and I also learned a couple of things that they never did this live. So I noticed like in the first 3 or 4 breaks, when they'd finish a video and go to Mark Goodman, that he go, well, that was a video by 38 Special, even though that video was shown 2 videos before. So it's like, am I having a stroke, or did he just say the band that was on before? I was literally going back and checking it out to see if that was the case.
Right.
During Taken on the Run by REO Speedwagon, it actually cut out in the middle of the video. It went to the color bars for a second, and then cut back to Mark Goodman in the studio, who had just put a promo up for a dial indicator sticker. For those that don't remember the early cable boxes, it was either something that slid across where you had an arrow pointing up to the number, or you might have had an actual dial that you turned to get in there. So you could send a self-addressed stamped envelope to MTV to get this dial indicator sticker sent directly to your house. So that way you don't forget what your MTV channel was, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, it was pretty sloppy. I mean, it really, I think back to some of the projects I did in college, and I'm thinking I did better work as far as editing and producing back in those days than they did in that first couple hours. But obviously they fixed it.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there. I thought it was funny that Wrathchild by Iron Maiden, which I think, if you don't mind, Charlie, was the first heavy metal band featured on MTV, if I'm not mistaken, twice actually. And then sadly enough, they followed Wrathchild with I Want to Be a Lifeguard by Blotto, which is, I think, one of the worst songs on the first 50. It's a funny song, so please look up, and we'll share. By the way, I think what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to share these playlists from Spotify on our social pages.
Yep. Yeah, there are some bad ones though. Yeah, the Split Ends songs. I never knew how much I hated Split Ends until I listened to a couple of these. Good grief.
Agreed. All right, so I want to talk about this. I'm going to bring this up because I didn't have, like I said before, MTV or cable, but I remember sitting. Actually, the first time I ever saw this was I was at Bill Troutman and Meredith Troutman's house in Pennsylvania, who are my cousins, and this came on because we were staying up pretty late at night. And I remember I would say it's like a toilet roll, a toilet paper roll, and I loved this opening of Friday Night Videos. And it was great. So this is my intro into the music video, and I believe Eurythmics was the first video on Friday Night Videos. Sweet, what am I thinking of? Sweet something.
Oh, geez, what was that? Oh, Sweet Dreams.
Sweet Dreams. There you go. So yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, so with the promo, so you have the toilet paper roll there, but then you have the guy that's tied around the pole.
Tied up, like why?
So in the very first episode, again, found it on YouTube, amazing. But he's strapped to the pole, and then all of a sudden he's released. The blindfold comes off, and now he can see. And again, the same sort of freedom, like, oh my God, I'm released from the shackles of just being able to listen to my music, and now all of a sudden I can watch NBC on a Friday night and see videos. Oh my God, what a liberating feel that is. And the narrator, before he starts the first video on the first show, he sort of breaks it down like we're 5. He goes, "This may be your first experience with music video, a new form allowing you to see what you used to only be able to hear." And actually, Beat It was the first video on that first episode. At least that's what I gathered. And it could have been an edit. Okay. Who knows? But it was on.
I looked it up and I couldn't. I really couldn't. Somebody mentioned it. I couldn't find the actual thing, but I do. I remember Red Sky. Was it Red Skies at Night by The Fix?
Yes.
There's a couple of ones that I said yes, I do. I was hooked. I was hooked. I'm sorry. I just couldn't. I don't. I think my parents came in and said, "Hey, get your ass to bed."
Right. I think I caught that heat a few times, but yeah, the other thing. So of that, and again, folks that aren't of our age might not know what we're talking about, but this was also the dawn of 900 numbers. So there were certain things that you could do with your landline back in the old days. You could call 1-900. You could vote for things. I know some people, there were some, that was the early times of sex lines, if I remember correctly, where you could call certain things, but it would cost you $4.99 a minute. And then your parents would get the phone bill and it'd be like $800. And then you'd see your friends with the hobo bags. Yeah, I got thrown out of the house for calling the
grounded. Is anybody get grounded these days? No.
I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. But so they had a video vote. So you couldn't do it on the West Coast, but if you're Eastern or Central, you could vote live for. It was Hungry Like the Wolf versus Let's Dance in the first episode. So Let's Dance by David Bowie, but Hungry Like the Wolf had a pretty good relationship with Friday Night Videos because I think they won weeks in a row. So they
but they take them off, right? They took them off. They said, "All right, you guys are."
After 4 weeks, 4 weeks they take them off. They couldn't be, because I remember when MTV did their TRL, there was some, like, I think Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue was #1 for like 6 months in a row or something like that. But they took that off. But well, there was a commercial for Dungeons and Dragons. I thought of you. There was like an animated thing for D&D. There was the 1983 Renault Fuego with free air conditioning. So that little penguin walked out of the car. I was like, oh my God.
I wanted to bring up too, when you brought up MTV in the ads, I felt like I needed to call in and order myself a wrench set.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right. I wanted to bring up this because when you go up and look up Friday Night Videos, one of the things that really blew my mind was their hosts. They had everybody from the Cosby Kids and the Cosby Cast and Jerry Seinfeld, Sam Kinison, Tommy Lee, and your boy Vince Neil. They had wrestlers, Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon, Pee Wee Herman, George Carlin, the Jets, Facts of Life cast, Mike Tyson and Don King. What was that show like?
Yeah, I guess, and they didn't start the host until a couple of years after the fact. So again, I almost think back on that. Maybe the ratings were starting to sag a bit as more people got MTV. I don't need Friday Night Videos, so they had to throw the hosts into the mix.
Which is what I kind of probably did. I probably switched over from Friday Night Videos to MTV, to be honest with you.
But the show lasted for 17 years. I mean, they renamed it along the way. It became Friday Night at some point, and I think
then just Friday. No, I was kidding.
Yeah. Well, they reworked it. They actually put it into like a Saturday morning format as it was starting to kind of, they were just trying to figure out what to do with it towards the end. But it, again, a viable alternative. Again, this is the early days of VHS tapes. So us people at home taping Friday Night Videos. Oh yeah, I got that new Phil Collins video, or whatever the case might be. But it was, again, kind of cool to be able to tape it and have it, have it tucked away and play it whenever you want.
Oh yeah, it's those nostalgic feelings.
Yeah,
which is kind of good, but then all of a sudden you realize, well, in like Tron, you're like, this is really horrible.
Well, there was a private reel of Rick Springfield that was on that first Friday Night Videos, and I said after that, I said, I thought he was a dork back in 1983, and he's still a dork. But at least that kind of validated it for me. He said, "Yeah, I went on the soap operas because I was broke." I'm like, "Yeah, that's at least you're honest."
You're a dork.
So yeah, he's still a dork. So, and even there was a commercial within that early 2 hours of where they were touting cable TV as the power to what's going to bring, music to your home. And I remember Mark Goodman also kept promoting, well, I hope you're playing this in stereo.
Yeah, in stereo.
Hopefully you'll be hooking it up soon if you haven't gotten that done yet. But
that's he's in stereo. Oh, then these are stereo, and then they haven't had a Dolby.
The Dolby noise reduction.
Yeah. Ooh, you can hear stuff, which is, hey, I bought it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because you're like, it's stereo, but I'm still watching it on a 33-inch TV that has a crappy ass speaker. So.
Well, who could have helped us with that would have been Ron from Pacific Stereo and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He was a stereo specialist. He might bang Stacy, but at least he's going to hook you up with some good stereo hookup. So that's really what.
Hey, Ron, I'm sorry, Ron's not here. He's at the point right now.
Right, exactly. He's in the dugout. He's in the dugout, but as soon as it comes out on the
Again,
field,
he's at the point again.
what's there to do with the point? Oh my gosh. So, but it's funny that the Dolby noise reduction kind of led me into my song selection this week. I was thinking, I think I remember somebody named that from the past, but I don't know. Are we done? Are we done talking about?
Yeah, I think
MTV?
we're done. Let's listen to some music. Here, check this out.
Right.
I got a new one for you.
All right. Might as well put on some music.
What would you like to hear?
Kids.
I'm gonna.
All right. Might as well put on some music.
What would you like to hear?
That's right.
I love it. All right, so let's go and hook me up with the banners here.
All right.
All right. Welcome to the end of the show, folks, where we're going to talk about our ultimate mixtape picks.
It's still growing.
I'm the jerk that just goes down the list. Charlie's the one that hooks you up with the stuff that's actually meant to be connected to the show. All right, I have a 11 Pond. Let me see. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh yeah, that's definitely 80s. That totally reminds me of Tron and all that stuff. But yeah, I never heard of them before. I just found them on, I think, the 80s Forever, and I said that is my jam right there. Download. So
All right.
11 Pond, Turn to Silence. Then I have, you've got to know this one. I love this opening.
Looking at a dirty old.
First of all, she's hot, or she was hot. She's probably still
I hope
hot.
so.
Kim Wilde.
Yeah.
Really neat voice. And during a recent trip to Europe, I came across a marquee banner, sort of a sidewalk billboard. Kim Wilde, blah, 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 playing in such and such. I'm like, oh, crap. She's still rocking it out in Europe, man. That's awesome. So props to her.
Nice.
She did some pretty good stuff, and that was one of her biggest hits. And then I have Life's Illusion. You see a theme here, Charlie. It's a lot of synthesizers.
That's very introspective.
I know. Trust me, I have some other stuff. Don't worry.
I'm sure.
Hey, if you're into the synthesizers,
Oh, I'm trying it out.
Download my stuff. That's right. All right, and then this is Ice House, great band, and brought to me by my former co-host of Life in 16 Ounces, Brandon.
And a mediocre 90s beer.
Ice House. And the band that apparently had a stutter. This is the.
Hey, they're still a viable touring entry. Entity.
Yes.
I'm sorry, they came through Vegas recently.
Yeah, and I think they, no doubt, I think use one of their songs, Talk, which is funny because the did Talk, so clearly they're stuttering.
That's right.
And if you listen to the song, you will recognize it. It's definitely been in a couple of 80s movies. All right, so there's my 5. Charlie, you want to bring up yours?
Yeah, I think that song was in Revenge of the Nerds. It sounds like something from the very beginning of that movie.
We're definitely going to bring up that movie in the future.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so mine kind of tied again a little bit with the show as far as the theme this week, and again, one of my all-time favorite bands and one of my favorite pinball machines, Iron Maiden. They were in the first wave of videos on MTV.
Yep.
Iron Maiden, the self-titled song, was actually in that initial blast of videos. Wrathchild was later in that original 50, and Iron Maiden kept it simple. It was all essentially live concert footage. There was their original lead singer Paul Di'Anno, who just passed a couple of years ago, but he had the first 2 albums, and then they had the first sort of iteration of Eddie, which was the mascot for the band over their long career. This was back in the day when it was like they were putting a Chewbacca hat on and blowing smoke. I mean, there wasn't much to the costume back in those days. But...
All right, let's listen to. You want to listen to Iron Maiden?
Yeah,
all right, here we go.
We got some.
Bruce Dickerson, by the way, just sang the national anthem at a Pittsburgh Steelers game.
He did yesterday. Bruce Dickinson, also an airplane pilot as well. But yeah,
not necessarily a home brewer, but he has connected with a brewery in England, and you can go buy his Trooper blend or Trooper ale, and it's actually quite good. So props to freaking Bruce, man.
That's right. They've got a few they've rolled out over the years. So yeah, definitely a multi-talented band, that's for sure. But,
cans look great.
So we mentioned
that's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. Nice cans.
Nice cans.
So we mentioned Dolby noise reduction. So it occurred to me, I was like, wait, Thomas Dolby. She blinded me with science. I mean, everybody should remember that one from back in the day, but you got a clip of that just in case.
Yeah, let's go. Oh. Yeah, that was beautiful. It's
that was good stuff.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
And then,
although some people confuse him with Howard Jones. I don't know why, but
that is true. There was a few of them that I think were getting a little muddied up back in those days. But also you have Pac-Man Fever, little known hit from the time. Buckner and Garcia, who the hell knows what they've ever done since then, but the song Pac-Man Fever, it was on the radio back in those days.
I know. I'm gonna play it, and I bet you I'm gonna remember it. Here we go.
Oh yeah, it was a rocker.
Dude, we're not gonna get copyrighted for this like that.
Probably not.
Hold on, I just got one more line. One more. That's great.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, so I even mentioned this before the show too, because there is a Joe Walsh song called Space Age Whiz Kid, I think, and they mentioned Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Defenders, and it was when was this? When was this? 82. So yeah, 82? It was jump on the bandwagon. Let's go.
Right in the sweet spot. But a couple other ones from back in the day, not so much tied to the show, but just some hidden gems. Violent Femmes, a band from the early 80s that got somewhat radio airplay on alternative stations back in the day, which there weren't that many of them back in the day. But Prove My Love. So not the Blister in the Sun is always the song that everybody associates with them. That's right. That's one. That's not this song, but this. I mean, they had an amazing initial album there. So again, check the whole album out if you look it up on your streamer. But Prove My Love is always a jammer. And then lastly,
hold on.
Okay, you got it.
Very similar sound though.
Yeah, that all
one, two.
Well,
Oh, that's very similar, dude. Watch out.
Somewhere in the ballpark. And then lastly was Private Idaho by the B-52s, all the way back from 1980, out of Athens, Georgia.
They've been around a while.
And they're still touring. They're actually touring with Devo.
What?
They are currently. They're not. Currently, Vegas is not on the itinerary. Although we're hoping that changes. But yeah, Private Idaho was again another fantastic song off of the early stuff. I know everybody thinks of Love Shack and Rock Lobster, but Private Idaho was on that album too. So
let's see.
A little love. And this was in a handful of movies as well.
Yeah, the girls voices were phenomenal. Their range is insane. They should easily be on the top 50 female voices of all time. And they never actually, luckily they hung out with the B-52s. They didn't jump ship and go do stuff on their own. I know they did a couple of duets with like Iggy Pop and stuff, which I think Candy, which I thought was really a good song. So yeah, they were pretty amazing. And I will say, for the modern day karaoke folks out there, I used to be really into karaoke, although I don't think I can sing that well anymore. But man, you talk about butchery when you get up there with you get a drunk dude and his girlfriend up there trying to kind of go back and forth and singing Love Shack or any of the sort of those alternating songs. It's some of the worst karaoke you've ever heard in your life most of the time. So just and if you're self-conscious about karaoke and you're thinking about doing the song, think twice. Just do everybody a favor. Exactly. Have another beer. Just have a drink.
Yeah, have a drink instead of poisoning everyboys eardrums. But anyway. So, but yeah, so that's the top 5 for this week. Our list continues to grow.
Oddly enough, this is one of our longest shows. I didn't think we were gonna have. There's just a lot to talk about when it comes to MTV and Friday night videos and VH1. So yeah, and then clearly that it was just a massive moment era for anybody who grew up in the 80s and 90s. I think we're done.
I think we're done.
All right, well, that's the show programs. Now we can derez. Thanks for gaining access. Like we did with MTV, stay up till 3 a.m. and watch or listen to our past videos. Stereo. Guest and live shows soon. End of line.
And with all the help from our friendly users, we'll be there soon. But make sure you drive home safely on your light cycles and make sure you stay off the gaming grid. See y'all next time, everybody.
Initiating shutdown. Shutting down systems.
I don't like fast women.
Are you crazy? Is that your problem?
Hey guys, let's talk about that fox that just walked in. We already were.